We're excited to talk some Western Conference NBA finals. We got some NHL conference finals. We got Caitlin Clark's LA debut, which I'll be at tonight. And we got a very special guest. But first, today's podcast is presented by Props.Cash. We 100% could not do what we do without Props.Cash. So if you think you're ready to level up your prop betting game, use code PTM at sign up to get 25% off your first month. We're super excited to have Matt from Dead Prez Picks on the pod for the first time. Welcome to the show, Matt. Happy to have you on. How's it going?
Appreciate you boys for having me on. Yeah, doing great. It's Friday, Memorial Day weekend. So, it's a special weekend. Get a little extension. So vibes are good. And, happy for excited to join. Appreciate you guys for having me on.
For sure. Thanks for coming. Yeah, it's the unofficial start to summer. It's good vibes all around. You're right about that.
Absolutely. So how's I know you cover pretty much every sport. We've kind of followed your content for a while. I know you're covering some NASCAR, even some some MLB, some NBA. Which sport would you say is like the one that you're doing the best at and that you enjoy capping the most?
Trying to do as many as I can. NASCAR, it was another one that was like a COVID sport. I feel like it kind of came back quicker. So started getting into that then and have found ways to be profitable. Over time, I guess the last 5 years of kind of like tracking, with VIP and everything. It's actually MLB that's the most profitable sport, which is interesting because I feel like that is, of the big four, probably the least favorite of people to bet. Now, some of that I think is once summer hits, it's kind of, it's a little bit of, it drags on and it kind of takes over. But MLB, and then next for me has been NFL has been right there. And then college football and NFL are kind of neck and neck. But those three sports have been my most successful. Definitely my favorite time of the year and to watch is there's, college football, NFL weekends, because nothing's better than just having football on. And then when the MAC returns, we get college football every day for like 40 days. And, those are my favorite times of the year. But all sports, love the big four, and, have gotten into, some international sports, NASCAR, UFC, golf as well over the years. So kind of love it all, right? We were talking a little bit of WNBA before. That's a sport I'm trying to get more into. Obviously, it seems like a lot of people are getting more into it with, Caitlin Clark's arrival and that whole draft class. So maybe that's another sport that'll be able to add sooner rather than later.
We're very, very impressed and jealous on how you managed to handle all these, for sure.
Excellent. So, all right, you guys ready to talk some hoops? Let's dive into the NBA slate. Just one game tonight. Like Tom said, we got the Western Conference Final. Mavs at T-Wolves. T-Wolves are -5.5 at home. Total is 207.5. Game one, Mavs won 108-105. Pretty much everybody on the Mavs had a good game. I was looking at the box score from the game. Kyrie put up 30, Luka 33. Derek Lively had a really great game, balanced. We're going to talk about him in a minute. Even Gafford, with limited minutes, almost had a double-double, and PJ Washington also had a pretty good game. So all around, Mavs took care of business and walked away with a 3-point victory. What I will say, compared to other series, almost every single quarter in that game was close, right? Mm-hmm. So there were not these blowout quarters like we're seeing on the Eastern Conference side. I think the biggest margin in any quarter was 6 points. So I do expect this is going to continue to be a really tight series. These teams are pretty evenly matched, packed with star talent, deep benches. So why don't we start with just a discussion of the game itself? It's always good to start with the game script before we dive into player props. Matt, who do you like in this game two?
Yeah, I mean, he made some great points there. Tightly contested game pretty much throughout. Looked like the T-Wolves were kind of running away with it at the end, and I believe the Mavs went on like an 11-0 run kind of to close that game. I do like Minnesota from a spread perspective tonight. I do think that they bounce back. Seeing that the line actually is more inflated here in game two than we saw in game one where they came up short. Seeing a little bit more of, public action here on Dallas with the points. Understandably so, coming off of that win. But this feels like a must-win game for Minnesota from my perspective, because if you do go back to Dallas down 2-0, going to be really difficult to come back and win this series. Minnesota's been great on their home floor this year. I don't want to say it was an encouraging loss, but Anthony Edwards and Karl-Anthony Towns, they could not shoot that entire game, and they were still staying in it. Jaden McDaniels, obviously, he played a little bit above his abilities in that one to pick up some of the slack. But overall, I thought Minnesota hung in the game despite their two stars just not having it. And Anthony Edwards kind of looked gassed towards the back end of that game, just did not look himself. Some of that might have to do with that Game 7 win at Denver in the altitude, and then the emotional letdown spot of Game 1. So I think he'll come back much better tonight. We have seen typically when Edwards struggles in a game, he does come back with a strong game. Now, his last 2 games, he's actually stayed under 20 points, which is interesting because that does not happen often this year and in the playoffs. I believe that's the first time in the playoffs where he's been under 20 in back-to-back games. But a lot to like about Minnesota tonight. Also, Dallas in Game 1, you were kind of saying it, Dave, really nobody played bad, but Luka and Kyrie, they combined for 63 points. That's tough to beat them when they're both on their game. Kyrie's kind of struggled to score, I think, in the playoffs. Now, some of that also is the thing, like he doesn't really get going till the second half. I don't know why he doesn't try to get going earlier in games, but when they're both locked in, they're as tough as anyone to beat in the NBA. But again, everything kind of went perfectly for Dallas in Game 1. Luka and Kyrie were on, Cat and Edwards were off, and they still barely won that game. So I still think Minnesota's the better team. I still think Minnesota wins the series, and I think they come back tonight and cover this number.
Love that. I love the look. Yeah. There might even be some props out there where if you do like Minnesota to win tonight and you like them to win the series, you could probably combine those two together. Game 2 win, series win. Probably get good value on that. Not sure if you looked at anything like that.
Yeah, that's a good point.
All right, so let's dive into some player props in this one. We were just talking about a few players that have done well. Let's see who will do well today. Matt, you want to start us off with kind of your, I guess, one of your favorite picks for tonight?
Yeah, staying right there with Anthony Edwards, 26.5 over 27.5. I know it's a little different depending your sports book, but I love this spot for Edwards tonight. Also, for him to be the top scorer in the game, it's plus 140 on DraftKings. The only other guy I'm really worried about in this spot is Luka Doncic. Obviously, his ability to go off. I don't think we're going to see another big game from Kyrie, as he's just been inconsistent in the postseason, having these big 30-point games. But Edwards, just as I was alluding to, 16 points in Game 7 against the Nuggets, and then 19 points in Game 1 against Dallas. Any other time, though, in the playoffs that he's gone under 20, if you look at it, he had 19 points against the Nuggets. Then he came back with 44. He had 18. Then he came back with 27. So consistently, he's been good. The one thing you do not have to worry about with Edwards is the volume. He's going to put up shots. He should put up 20 to 25 shots tonight. He gets to the line a lot. And a lot of his attempts come from three-point range. So a lot of ways to stack up points. And again, this is going to be a must-win game for Minnesota. So his minutes are going to be there. He played 44 minutes in Game 7 against the Nuggets. He played 41 in Game 1 against the Mavs. So you're looking at him pretty consistently being over 40 minutes per game right now in the playoffs. And this game's going to be tight. It's going to be close. He's going to be on the floor a lot. So I love Edwards on his over tonight. And then again, that leading scorer on DraftKings, which you can get at plus 140. I think there's a lot of value there on Ant-Man tonight.
I love it. That was my play too. Couple things to add. I think they probably try to switch things up a little bit defensively instead of having Ant chase Kyrie around. I think they put him on Luka a little bit more. Luka's not as mobile, not as active, so I think that saves him. Like you mentioned earlier, he did look gassed in that fourth quarter. Reggie Miller kept bringing it up. Yep. So I think one, that helps him. I think two, he only had 2 free throw attempts in Game 1. He's normally getting to the line 6-7 times a game. He averaged 7 free throw attempts against Dallas this season. Also only had 0 points in the third quarter in Game 1. And my favorite is, so I kind of equate Game 3 against Denver. That was their first game at home in Minnesota in that series. And it was kind of like, against the home crowd there, maybe the nerves got the best of them, whatever it was. I kind of see a corollary to Game 1 of the Western Conference Finals. And I think he has a big bounce back game. You saw with that 44-point outburst in Game 4. I think that equates to Game 2 here tonight. I love him there. We've also been having some success with some single player alt builders to try to get some value here. You can get him if you want to bring the points down to 25. You could put him 25 points, 4 rebounds, 5 assists. You can get that for plus 100 on FanDuel. Super high hit rates. The 5 assists, 10 of 12 games in the playoffs, 4 rebounds, 11 of 12 games in the playoffs. And then you see with the points, he either scores 27 or more or 19 and fewer. Tonight's not a 19 and fewer game. So you can play around with Ant that way as well.
Love that.
Nice. Tom, you like anybody else in this game?
Yeah, like Nas Reed. So again, the single player SGP, you can get him. I know we were playing him at 7 points, 3 rebounds last series, and doing well with that. You can't get that for decent odds anymore. So even if we play him though at 8 points and 4 rebounds last night, I got that at plus 100. It's down. It was a little bit earlier at minus 116. He's played 5 games against Dallas this season. Now, granted, until just that last game, it was a different Dallas rotation. They didn't have the PJ Washington, Daniel Gafford situation there. But all 5 games against Dallas this season, he's had 8 points and he's had 4 rebounds. I would look to see that continue tonight. So love Nas.
What do you think, Matt? Do you were you eyeing Nas Reed at all tonight for anything?
Yeah, I wrote him last game on his over. I think most of this last series, it was like 8.5, 9.5, right? So I think the number has gone up a bit here. Finally, the books adjusted. But yeah, he's been great. I mean, 6th man of the year. Obviously, he's been giving them big minutes. A lot of times towards the end of games, I wish they played him over Gobert. I just think he's more athletic. He can stretch the floor. And it is interesting. Maybe they do make those adjustments because Dallas, they've kind of countered with Gafford and Lively there. But I think, Naz would give them a little more of a, difficult matchup than a guy like Gobert, who obviously defensively, yes, he's great, but offensively he's limited. I think if you can stretch the floor a little bit with Naz. So maybe that's an adjustment that Minnesota does make in this series, trying to stretch the floor a bit and make those centers come out and have to guard. One other play that I did like, just to kind of dive into it while we were talking props and talking about centers, I like Daniel Gafford under 8.5 points tonight. Obviously, it's a small number. It's a short number. Thing with Gafford, though, is his minutes have gone down. And in this series, I think his minutes will continue to go down. Maybe if the adjustment is made with Nas, but it seems like they love playing Gobert towards the back end of the games. And Lively just matches up better with their bigs. It's just, more rim protection, both athletic guys, but I would say Lively's a bit more of an athlete. Obviously, he's a high jumper and a guy who really protects the rim. And you saw in game 1, he played 27 minutes. Gafford plays 21. Gafford actually did get up 9 shot attempts, which is the most, the second most that he's had in the postseason. So he had a lot of volume in that game compared to what we're accustomed to seeing. I think he's more in that 4 or 5 attempts range tonight. And yes, centers do shoot at a much higher percentage because typically, they're going to be the lobs or they're going to be the easy layups set up by Luka or Kyrie. But even if he misses 1 or 2 shots, we should be set up well in this game. So from a minutes perspective, from a matchup perspective, I think Gafford's under is actually the play tonight. And the way that this line is, his under is actually juiced at minus 140 right now on DraftKings at 8.5. So it is a bit of an interesting line. In that same breath, Lively's over at 7.5. You want to get crazy and take both because, yes, there are going to be a lot of the, easy rim runs for these guys. Another interesting thing, though, was in game 1, and I think they'll adjust to this tonight with Luka. They were dropping a lot on those screens and kind of allowing Luka to go. I think if they blitz them tonight and you kind of make Gafford and Lively work out of that, you're going to see them pass more than you actually see them shoot. So if you put them in those situations, I think you're going to see a lot of passing, out of the centers tonight, and we'll see how they adjust to that. But Gafford, from a points perspective, I don't think he'll have those looks set up because if they don't blitz Luka on those screens or Kyrie, I don't know what they're doing with playing drop coverage against 2 of the best guards in basketball. But just another prop to throw out there.
Yeah, I love that. I think the other thing too about Gafford's playing time is I think you just alluded to the fact he's played, 21 minutes last game, 18 minutes in the game before that. But those minutes are very broken up. Like he's going out there for like 4-minute segments and then coming back out. So it's hard to get like a good run when you're kind of on and off the court and Lively's sucking up the bulk of the time, right?
For sure.
All right. So talking about Lively, you're against Gafford today. Tom and I both love Lively. Tom, what's the prop that we were on for Derek Lively?
So we liked his PR 15.5. You can get that still plus 102 on FanDuel. So kind of goes hand in hand with everything you just said about Gafford. His last 5 games for Lively, he's averaged 26.3 minutes over his last 5 games. He's trending up. Gafford's trending down. I think even more so in this series. When he's played 25 plus minutes this season, 79% hit rate, 19 of 24 games. Just looking at this postseason, when he's played 21 minutes, 6 of 7 games, averaging 20 PR. in those 7 games. Dave's got a nice, beautiful green looking chart there. What's that, Dave?
Yeah, this is last 15 games when he plays 26 plus.
Oh,
minutes.
26. There you go.
He's gotten to 16 PR in all of them. So I think that's a great play. To Matt's point too, maybe you also consider the PRA because he could be in line to get. If you look, his PRA is only 16.5. So that's implying that we're only getting 1 assist. But in the last game, I believe he had 3 assists in the last game. So maybe some additional value on playing his PRA.
Yeah, good. That's a good call.
All right. Tom, you got anything else? Any other looks in this game?
Just one other. We played this in game 1. He just got there. I think he'll get there again. Derek Jones Jr. PRA, 13.5, minus 110 on FanDuel. His last 3 games against Dallas, he had 14 in game 1, but the 2 prior games, 23 and 24. He's 9 of 12 this postseason. Going over this line, he played big minutes in game 1, 35 minutes. I think they're going to continue to need him out there. This season, when he's played 32 or more minutes, which I think he should be good for tonight, 14 of 18 games, and 3 of those 4 misses, he would have just gotten hooked at 13 PRA. So, yeah, I'm running this back. It's the same line we had, I believe, in game 1, right, Dave? What was the 12.5 in game 1? I can't remember, but either way.
I think we were 11.5 or 12.
Oh, was it?
One.
So it jumped up a little bit here, but I don't know, I'm still comfortable with it. What do you think?
I mean, the fact that Matt's dog was barking during this has got me really excited for this play.
Yeah. Usually when my dog barks, the plays do win.
There we go.
Not quite often, so I've gotten used to it over the years.
That's awesome.
Matt,
what do you think about Derek Jones?
Yeah, I love him. Actually, was looking at some Derek Jones props. He played at my rival high school too, so I've always
cool.
Derek Jones pretty hard, but I mean, honestly, the line where it's at, I would have thought it went up a bit. But he's a guy who can do everything, and he's going to be on the floor consistently because of his defense, as we know. Yeah. So he's always going to be on there. You don't really have to worry about them taking him out toward the end of games because he's probably the Mavs' best defender, and I think he's really impressed in the playoffs. So yeah, I love that play, and that corner 3. If he can develop that shot, more consistently, he's going to be lethal from there. And he's got much better as a shooter as the years have gone on. But he's going to get 3 or 4 of those open looks per game. And we've seen him actually heat up in games, right? And go over this number in the first quarter. So I love that play for tonight.
Yeah, I mean, how do you really put a lot of attention on Derek Jones on offense when you've got all those weapons, that you need to focus on? So I think he's going to continue to be wide open. Like you said, if he can drill 1 or 2 threes in this game, this one's a no-brainer. So love that. All right, Matt, anything else for this game?
No, that's all for me. Yeah, that's everything I got in this one.
All right, so let's move to the WNBA. This is going to be an education from Matt. But we won't actually talk too much about Caitlin Clark, but we wanted to bring up this game today because our buddy Tom here is actually going to be live right behind the Fever bench tonight, right?
Yes, sir. A few rows back behind the Fever bench, so super excited to see Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston, and this will be a fun one. So you got to give me a winner, Dave.
Yeah, I'm going to keep it simple. So let's first talk about the game. We got Indiana Fever at the LA Sparks. Sparks are getting 1.5 at home. Fever are 0-5. So the Fever, I think, were projected to be a top 14 this year, and now they haven't won a game. Sparks were not projected to do very well, right? Neko Wumake left the Sparks to go to the Storm, and who was their top scorer, and then Jordan Canada was also one of their top scorers, went over to the Dream. So they lost a lot of pieces. They picked up a bunch of rookies. They're a team in development. So really, I think the Fever, I think, will probably win this game. I think they've just had such a rough schedule to start. The league really set the Fever up to fail, set Caitlin Clark up to fail by putting her up against, Connecticut, who's one of the toughest teams in the league, the Liberty, who's one of the toughest teams in the league, the Storm, who are one of the toughest teams in the league. They haven't really played an easy opponent yet. So this could be a good opportunity for the Fever to really show what they're capable of. With that said, the Fever are giving up 91.6 points per game, which is the number 1 points in the league for any defense. So they haven't really figured out how to stop teams. I don't think that continues tonight. I don't think that stops tonight. I think they continue to give up a good amount of points. The Sparks, just the same, are giving up the 4th most points in the league at 83 points per game. So between these two of these teams, they don't play defense. There's should be a ton of points scored. The line is 165 points. I think the over is probably a good spot for this game.
All right.
It's Friday night. Tom's going to be there.
Yeah, that's
I hope there'll be a lot of scoring. In terms of player props, really there's 2 players to target in this game. We went this direction last night in the Discord in the Connecticut Sun Minnesota Lynx game. We targeted the 2 stars of the game, which were Nafisa Collier and Alyssa Thomas. We put them Collier for 20 points, Thomas for 15 points. That was a plus money play on FanDuel, and that cashed. Luckily, we had overtime, so thank you for that. But in this game, the two stars of the game, on the Spark side, we have Dearica Hamby, who's just been out of her mind this year. I'm going to pull up her chart right now. So if you look, she's scored in her 3 games this year. She scored 20, 29, and 17. So she's really taken over the reins of the top scorer over in LA. So I expect another big game from her tonight. Forwards are just dominating the Fever, right? Forwards are scoring over 20 points a game against the Fever. So I think she's in a great spot to surpass this 17.5 points. But I'm going to take her for 15 points, and I'm going to pair her with Kelsey Mitchell. So Kelsey Mitchell was a top 10 scorer in the league last year, but nobody's really talking about her because she's on the same team as Caitlin Clark. Kelsey Mitchell started the year off slow, 8 points and 5 points, but her minutes were limited due to an injury, so 16 minutes and 21 minutes. Now that she's playing 30 plus minutes, she's scoring 15 plus points a game. So that's my play for this game. I like Hamby 15 points and Mitchell 15 points. You put those 2 together for a plus money play on FanDuel. So that's play number 1. Play number 2, just so Tom has something else to root for. We're going to look at fellow Duke graduate Lexi Brown. I think she's in a good spot to score 13.5 points. I also think she's in a good spot to hit 2 threes. Her line on ESPN Bet, yeah, this has gone up actually. It was 1.5 threes earlier today. Now it's up to 2.5 threes. But I think she's in a good spot for both. She's attempted 5+ threes over her last 2 games, and I think like I said, the Fever don't really play a whole lot of defense. So 13.5 points is a good look for Lexi Brown tonight as well. Tom, anything else to add on this one?
Now we got some comments from Vital Gonzo Gore in the YouTube here saying Mitchell was a cash cow for us last season. Yes, she was. And he's also on Lively Rebounds and Derek Jones Jr. PR as well.
That's good. Love when the community's on the same place too.
Yeah.
Matt, any comments about this game or anything else to add?
Yeah, like I said, so I've been writing about specifically the Indiana Fever game. So I'm 1-1, guys, betting WNBA at this point. So I can't get
right.
and both the bets were Caitlin Clark's over. So I'll take it. I'll be happy with the 1-1 start. But yeah, definitely trying to get more into it. As it goes on, I've watched a few games this year. So especially in the summer, right? When NBA is done and NHL is done, definitely be diving more into it. But I'll ride these prop plays with you guys tonight.
I love the over too, Dave. That's such a great look and super fun to root for if you're at the game.
Right?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Who wants to root for an under when you're sitting at
a game and root for an under? I'll say that.
Yeah.
Only other statement, since you are covering Caitlin Clark, we've kind of shied away from her because her lines are getting hammered on the over. Most games, so they're a little bit artificially high. At the same point, I'm afraid to bet her unders just because she has that potential to go off. This is really her first game where she's not playing against a great team. So one of these games, it's either today or I believe they play tomorrow against the Aces. One of these games, she's going to go off. So I do see her putting up like 5-6 threes in one of these 2 games. So if you want to roll the dice and gamble on tonight or tomorrow, I do see her having one of those like statement performances coming up.
Nice.
Okay. All right. So let's go from basketball to hockey. I know Matt's got a few few thoughts on for NHL as well.
Yeah, big one tonight, right in the Garden.
Yeah.
Yeah, Panthers win game one. This line's been all over the place, guys. When I was just doing my podcast, the Rangers were -112. I'm looking on DraftKings now. The Panthers are -112. So this line has kind of jumped back and forth. Pretty much had to pick them all day. Game one, the Panthers controlled that one start to finish. It was 1-0 for the majority of the game, but it just kind of felt like they had it in hand pretty much the entire time. Game two, though, we were talking about the T-Wolves in these must-win spots. When you open as the home team and you lose that opener, game two all of a sudden feels like a must-win. If Florida is back, home up 2-0, I don't want to say they'll sweep them for sure, but I would feel pretty confidently saying, that the Rangers are in trouble. And New York started off 7-0 in the playoffs. They're 1-3 over their last 4, so they've come back to life in the postseason. Had a tough draw against Carolina there in round 2. For a second, it looked like we were going 7 in that series. Obviously, like I said, they jumped out of the 3-0 lead, but Carolina did bounce back strong. I like the Rangers tonight, though, at home. I think a lot of people are going to jump on the Panthers after game one. I get why. I mean, they shut the Rangers out for the first time in the playoffs, but this is a tough New York team playing on their home ice. They've been great this year. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. The total is only 5.5 for this one. You have two of the best goalies in hockey, in Bobrovsky and Shesterkin. So you get two premier goalies tonight. But I see them grinding out a 2-1, 3-2 kind of win. So I like the Rangers here on their home ice to take care of business. And I actually do like the total staying under 5.5 in this game.
Yeah, the money line is -105 in this one, right? Is that correct?
It's all, yeah, like I'm looking on DraftKings, like they have them at -108. You could definitely find, a better line than that. It's literally been back and forth throughout the day. So, I think you could probably find a -105 somewhere on New York.
That's nice. So, yeah, I mean, I guess if you like the Rangers tonight and you like the T-Wolves tonight, maybe you could put those two together as well. If you want to take a little bit of a risk off, you could take maybe the Rangers plus 1.5 goals, which sounds like that should happen for sure, given that you're expecting a low total game, and add that to the T-Wolves. So lots of options, but hockey's like the last good thing we got going in New York now after the Knicks got bounced. So, and I guess the Yankees too. Tom and I are Mets fans, so we're can't be too excited about MLB. So
nothing to be excited about right now.
Cool. What else? Anything else in this hockey game for you?
That's all on my end. Yeah, I'm just going with the side here with
Nice.
New York for tonight.
Beautiful.
I like that range. I like that Rangers Wolves money line parlay.
Right?
That seems pretty good.
Yeah, call it the back against the wall parlay.
Yeah.
They're both about to get swept if they
lose this one.
If they don't win tonight.
Nice. All right. Well, I think that does it. Matt, awesome having you on. Thanks again for coming. Hope to have you back again soon. And let's. I'm gonna get a few of these in right now, and I think we're all ready to make some money tonight. What do you say?
Do it. Yeah, appreciate you guys having me on, and hopefully be back as soon as you guys will have me.
Awesome. All right, thanks, Matt.
Thanks. Appreciate it, Matt.
See you guys.
Yeah.